Tonight's cocktail is the Clover Club, and today I want to talk about the illusions of alcohol, the fictions of booze, the fantasies we tell ourselves, and the silly things we try to ignore as we navigate the big adult world of drinking. My grandpa, Wil Petre, was many things in life. He was a soldier in the army, he was a motorbike racing champion, and he was a body shop wizard who detailed classic cars and motorcycles. He was an affable man with a distinctive mustache, a great smile. I remember him most in his later years when he drove a Coca-Cola truck, making soda pop deliveries to the good people of the neighborhood. And when I was little, he would often visit me and my mom for a post-work drink. His drink of choice was Schaefer's beer. And he did this thing, I know, that's a deep cut. He did this thing, I like to think of it as the first party trick that I ever saw, although it took me years to realize it was actually a trick. And to do this, I'm gonna need someone who can whistle. I'm a terrible whistler. Can you whistle? Okay. Can you do a whistle version of this? It's gonna be terrible. Okay, great, that you're doing it with the fingers, that's great. Can you do it without the fingers? Okay, can you do that one more time? Do this hand gesture and then at the end point one time. Can you try that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna ask you to do it one more time when I call on you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Grandpa will come over, everyone's having their drinks, his beer will get low, and then he would make this whistle and gesture. And that meant that the youngest person in the room, always me, got the distinct honor of running out of the room, going into his van, going into the cooler in the back seat of his van, and getting him 1 can of Schaefer's beer. 2 points meant 2 cans, and I fucking loved it. It was a game. He gamified getting a kid to run out of the room, get him a beer, without him having to get up out of his chair. That is the stuff of legends. And my grandpa was also the first person to give me a sip of alcohol. I must have been about 5 or 6 at the time, after one of those scamps to the backseat cooler. All the adults are having their beers. I hand my grandpa his. He opens the can, and then he pours me a tiny shot glass of Schaefer's, and he hands it to me. And then I got to clink glasses with all the other grown-ups. It was incredible. I don't know what that was. It was like maybe my first bartending job, and the shot glass of Schaefer's was my first tip for services rendered. Wil Petre is no longer with us, but I often reminisce about that whistle that would send me to the back seats, and that feeling of sitting with the adults and drinking beer. It's a deep feeling of belonging. Jump cut to young adulthood. I graduate from college, and to support my acting career, I officially become a big boy bartender and step into service. At one of the first bars I bartended, oh gosh, so this is like around 2005. It's the beginning of the craft cocktail movement, but the end of the teeny craze. You know, so there was a cucumber cosmopolitan on the menu, and I had a regular that would come in often on first dates. Seemed like he had a lot of them. He was a police officer and straight, facts that he loved to remind people about. But he had a sweet tooth for cucumber cosmopolitans. But all the bartenders knew that when he would come into the bar with a new lady and he ordered a whiskey on the rocks, wink, wink, we all just made him a cucumber Cosmo and put it in a rocks glass. He would drink a lot of these, and I remember this one date in particular. He must have sucked down 3 or 4 of those things while his date had 1 glass of white wine, and they finish, and he asks her, oh, do you want to stay for another round? And she's like, are you okay to have another one? I'll never forget. He said, oh yeah, real men know how to handle their booze. Another early bartending job was Cafe Figaro in Greenwich Village. It was an old spot for the beatniks back in the 50s. By the mid-aughts, when I worked there, was a photocopy of a photocopy. One of my college buddies comes in one night, and over the course of the evening, I get him a little bit drunk. You know, we're laughing, we're joking, you know, how old we are now that we're 24 out of college. And I'm showing off all the craft cocktails I know how to make. I'm making the old fashions, I'm making the daiquiris. I think I even made the cucumber Cosmo for my other job, just whipping up things, putting them down in front of him. And at one point in the night, he gets a little bit quiet, and I'm cleaning up behind the bar. And then out of nowhere, he says, this is poison. You're just mixing poisons. And I look up at him, and I see he's staring at the wall of alcohol just behind me. And there wasn't anything behind what he was saying. There was no excitement, there was no judgment. He was just stating a fact. And maybe because of the lack of opinion behind his words, that phrase stuck with me, and it sticks with me to this day. This is poison. Sometimes I go into a new bar and I stare at the wall of alcohol. I hear those words, you're just mixing poisons. These days, I'm mostly out of service. I do have a one-day-a-week bartending job at a wine bar in Fort Greene. Stop by and say hi sometimes. And aside from that and the performing I do, I sometimes bartend private cocktail events. And at a recent one, the client asked for classic cocktails on the boozy side, so I make a menu of martinis and Manhattans and the Clover Club. That's tonight's cocktail, the Clover Club. Let's make a Clover Club right now. All right. So, you muddle 3 raspberries. You do half an ounce of lemon. Where's that simple syrup? Is it this one? Yes. I hope so. Half an ounce of simple syrup. And this one calls for an egg white, which is always fun. Let's see. I know. Okay, God. All right. All right. Don't be nervous that people are looking. Just. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm a professional. All right. And then 2 full ounces of London dry gin. Oh, God. Thank you. Now we're going to do a little dry shake. What that does is it aerates the egg whites. It makes it a little fluffier. You just want to do it for like 5 seconds or so. Get it all over the bar if you can. Thank you. And then fill with ice. And then shake again. Thank you. Come on, give it going. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, great. Yes, and you strain it all, and if you're really fancy, you can do a double strain to get rid of all those bits of raspberry. Strain it all into a coupe. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what you're doing?
I mean, I've been doing it long enough.
Right.
And you garnish with 1 raspberry. Now, the Clover Club is boozy. Do not be deceived by its pinkish hue, and do not confuse it for weakness. Okay? So I'm at this recent cocktail event, and it's a beautiful Upper East Side townhouse, and there is a guest at the party. Sure, we can call this person a gentleman. He shouts his order across the room at me. Yo, excuse me. Thank you very much. This gentleman shouts his order across the room at me. Yo, can I get a Clover Club? So I make it. I walk it over to where he's sitting with his high-earning male friends, and I place it down in front of him. And then he asks loudly for the benefit of all his buddies, oh, why'd I get the girly glass? I was struck by the ridiculousness of what he said, and in that dumbfounded stupor, I went through the Rolodex of alcohol illusions. They began to flood my mind. I thought about that police officer from years ago pounding the cucumber Cosmos, insecure about his palate, overcompensating with gluttony. I remember my college buddy's epiphany describing bartending as mixing poisons. And I thought about little 5-year-old Wil Petre, deceived by a whistle to get his grandpa another beer, but then sitting with a shot glass of Schaefer's, feeling like an adult. Alcohol illusions can take many forms, and then we have this gentleman right there feeling emasculated by the curves of a coupe. I was torn about what to say. I thought about something generous like, this cocktail is served up so your hand will not warm it. It's the intention of the cocktail and the glassware used to hold it by the stem, so the drink will stay colder longer. But I think what I actually said is, sir, this is sand spun into a shape. Glass does not have a gender. Thank you. I'm 41. I can say whatever I want. At the last Mr. Rogers, somebody asked me about this cocktail pin that I wear and that I sell as merch, by the way, $10. Come see me later. It is a martini glass with the alchemical symbol for arsenic in it. And although arsenic is most commonly known as a poison, ancient alchemists use arsenic for a variety of reasons, sometimes for rituals to bring about trance-like states for enlightenment and healing. navigating reality these days, sometimes it feels like it's me inside a martini glass, sloshing around, sort of like Dita Von Teese with a dad bod. Thank you. So I think it's important to keep the complexities of why we drink and how we drink at the forefront of my mind, quite literally on my sleeve. You know, just to have that little reminder to zoom out and ask, what are we really doing? And I have found at its best that drinking in moderation and with community to have a transcendent-like quality. I mean, look at all of us right here. Right now, we're huddled around the bar. We're giving space to listen to stories. We're leaning into our curiosities. It's a certain kind of intimacy that can only occur over a drink or when we break bread. I'm reminded of a quote from the famed Star Trek actor LeVar Burton. He says, thank you, he said, "We all drink from the same trough. We just don't know the source of the water." I'm not done. Oh. I'll do one more. This shot glass of foamy beer is for you, for your whistle. Thank you so much. Before I go, I just would like to propose a toast to the real reason why we're here, to drinking from the same trough, to picking one's poison in moderation, and to the thrilling intoxication of being in community. Cheers.